conflicts with Hitler eventually sent many Italian Jews either into voluntary exile or into hiding, or ultimately to death camps. Some, as Bassani himself records, were shot dead by Mussolini's squadristi. Others, however, had been fervent fascists before the advent of the racial laws and didn't quite know how to navigate a world that was changing faster than they could reckon. They never found their bearings again. Carlo Levi, Primo Levi, and Natalia, herself née Levi, Ginsburg, as well as Alberto Moravia and Elsa Morante, were also Jewish or partly Jewish, though most were indeed totally secularized. Natalia's husband was killed by the fascists, and as for Primo Levi, he survived Auschwitz and left perhaps the most clear-eyed portrait of life in the German camps. Still, Bassani's world is different. It is about people who, for one reason or another, find themselves suddenly pushed to the margins of a world where, until intolerance became the norm in the late 1930s, they had thrived and led secure, highly respected lives in Ferrara. But things don't last, and for all their stature and position, they don't fight back or don't know how. The dazzling, wealthy heartbreaker Micol Finzi-Contini becomes an easy victim of the Shoah. The prestigious Dr. Athos Fatigati turns into a hapless homosexual who loses everything from his wealth to his reputation because of a thuggish slap in public. The camp survivor Joe Yosh can never undo the memory of what he saw, and the syphilitic, reclusive, frightened Pino Basilari won't even testify to a crime he witnessed from his very window. Some of Bassani's characters are what the Portuguese call retornados, people who return after years, sometimes after generations, to their place of origin, to feel no less uprooted in their own homes than in the places left behind. In Bassani, however, they return to live among those who robbed them of everything. Bassani left Ferrara, moved to Rome, and made Rome his home. But his prose teems with the names of Ferrara's streets and piazzas, its buildings, movie theaters, restaurants, even brothels. In Bassani, one will always watch a young man riding a bicycle and parking it against a wall somewhere to feel one with a city he still loves, but probably foretells won't ever be home again. Bassani's world is a cartography of a city that could only be restored with words. Restored to what it was before Hitler, before fascism, before the war shook the ground beneath him and took so many loved ones away. Restored to what perhaps it never really was, but might have been. In this, the imagination of the historian and the memory of the fiction writer are constantly trading places and can no longer be told apart. Introduction. Jamie McKendrick. Taking a break from the 2016 Centenary Conference on Giorgio Bassani in Ferrara, where scholars, editors, and translators from all over Europe had gathered to celebrate his work, I found myself in Via Vittoria in front of a disused, derelict building. Its somber facade of ancient brickwork was undistinguished in appearance from the other neighboring houses, except for a white marble plaque next to the arched doorway. Erected by the Jewish community of Ferrara on 20 November 1992, that too was commemorating a centenary, a quincentenary of the same date in 1492, when Duke Ercole I d'Este had welcomed the Jews exiled from Spain to the city. It also recorded how the Sephardic synagogue on this site had been destroyed by the Nazis in 1944. Its 12 lines spanned 500 years of history, asserted the place of Sephardic culture in Italy, and recorded these acts of welcome and persecution. Was this then, I wondered, the site of the third synagogue mentioned in Bassani's The Garden of the Finzi-Continis, as the place of worship for a small section of the Jewish community, the Fanese, somewhat shadowy and intriguing to the narrator, whose family attended the main temple in nearby Via Mazzini? The inscription immediately recalled the use Bassani makes, throughout his work, but especially in Within the Walls, of the city's public memorials, its plaques, statues, and funerary.